everyone. So now that you've identified your keywords and used our nearest neighbor match to find keyword variants for each of them, we're ready to get to the fun part where we're going to actually start piloting our search in major databases. And I say major databases because what we're not going to do is use Google or Google Scholar, which some of you may have done before in literature reviews. And the reason for that is because we live in filter bubbles. Because what I search and get is directly optimized through those algorithms to find material and articles on target for me. The issue is that if you try to do that and do the same search that I did, you're going to get a different result. As scientists, we need our search to be replicable so that at any point in time in the future, if you pop in the same terms into your search engine, you get the same output. So what we're going to do is do an example here with two major databases that are going to be relevant to the majority of you, PubMed and Web of Science. And if this is not one of your databases you found in your nearest neighbor search, don't worry, because once you learn the principles of advanced search functionality, they're common to almost all the platforms. There are some subtle variations, but you're going to feel good and confident knowing exactly what you need to do. So let's go first and come over and start in PubMed. So you can see here that you just pop into Google and search for PubMed. And what you'll see in this platform is an option to just go ahead and pop your search straight in. You don't want to do that. You're all becoming budding experts. You want to go straight to advanced, which you can see tucked under the search bar. And here you can see the outline and general structure of what you're going to have. And in general, you're going to have a component here. Oh no. So you'll just pop in PubMed here into Google Scholar. And as you open up the page, what you're going to see is a common platform where you can drop in your search. You're not going to do that. You're all becoming budding experts. You're going to go straight to advanced. And when you come to the advanced search builder, you're going to see this type of setup where you have an option to choose different fields that you can search within. I'll come back to that in a second. Your search term, a query box, and history and search details. This is all important for keeping track of your search so you don't get lost, especially when you make many searches and we take steps to optimize your search. Right now, we're just piloting. It's our initial attempt. What you'll notice here is if we put in the term poverty, we can add it to the builder and we can search, which will take us straight to the search, or we can add it to history. I'm just going to add it here to history for now. And what you can see is searching PubMed for any article that mentions anywhere poverty, we get 69,000 hits. Now, this is important. So what you can see here, all fields, what we've set up the search to do is search anywhere in the article. Anywhere if the word poverty shows up, it's going to be a hit. That can get you a lot of noise and things that aren't really on target or aren't really focusing on poverty. So I like to use the title and abstract field. So this is going to search all the papers, but not in the whole text, but only in the title and abstract for your keyword variants. And so if we put here poverty now, and we add this to the history, you see we get 30,394. So which field you're searching can make a very big difference to your search. Now I want to go through and start trying to build up the first keyword in our search using the example from before. And you remember we had poverty and we had other terms like deprivation and other terms like socioeconomic status. It's important to notice here, for each keyword variant, we need to use this Boolean logic that I put in here, or, because we want to capture anything that's related to our broad keyword terms, so poverty or deprivation or socioeconomic status. All these things, if it's any of these things, then it's in. So just make sure if you don't get the Boolean logic right, it can cause a lot of confusion and a lot of problems. So within each keyword where you have different variants, you need to connect each keyword variant with the Boolean logic or. Some of you might be quite familiar with this, but I want to make sure everybody's got clarity on this so you get a good result. And as you would expect, when you use or, we should get more search terms because we're capturing more things. So poverty or deprivation or socioeconomic status, you can see we get 151,000 results. Now there's something here I want you to watch out for. And that is, let me add this back to the query. Now you can also start to see that title and abstract. Remember before we had the example where we looked at somebody else's search and we saw title and abstract TIAB. Now you understand what that code is for. That's code for the fields that were searched. Okay, coming to the thing I want you to watch out for. So if you look here, socioeconomic status. When you have two words, there are some search engines that will actually behind the scenes break this apart, search for anything with socioeconomic and anything with status. So I want you to get in the habit of putting quotes around this. That's very, very important. In this case, PubMed is optimized. It's not going to make a difference. As you'll see here, add it to the history, you get the same thing. But in the Web of Science example I'm going to come to, it does make a difference. So I want you to get in the habit when you have 2 words, 3 words, or a keyword variant, that anything more than 1 word, get in the habit of putting quotes around it. Another thing I want you to notice, if you look here in the term poverty, sometimes people may talk about poverty, they may talk about poverties, there might be plural or different variants of the word that has the same root to the word. So for example, if I want poverty and poverties or anything with that variation, you can put a star in. And the star, as you'll see, will get some additional articles. So instead of 30,394, we now got 30,395. Okay, I got 1 additional article. But in some cases, that can be quite important. For example, I have a student who's looking at entrepreneurship. And so we use the root word entre, feeling confident that I'll capture entrepreneurial, entrepreneurship, entrepreneurs, all different permutations of the word that could arise. So that star, in some cases for you, can be a helpful piece of code as you build up your search. Okay, so we've got our first search term on poverty. There's one more thing I want to notice. Sometimes you'll see that there are different ways the word is included. So in socioeconomic status, you'll sometimes see there might also be a hyphen here between socioeconomic. And you need to include that because as you'll see, as we add here socioeconomic status with a hyphen, now we get an additional 10,000 results in our search for the keyword poverty than what we would have had otherwise. So again, it's really important that you capture the different linguistic variations and permutations that you can come up with for the way these words are talked about in your field and across different fields that are relevant to you. So now that we've got this keyword, let's start adding the others. And you remember we had HIV, and I'll just put this in here, or AIDS. So we'll add that to the history. And the other word we had was, remember, treatment outcomes. And this is a good case where I'm going to put a star. So treatment outcome star, and we'll add that to the history. And now you can see we have the basic building blocks of our search put together. Now, within each keyword, we want to connect with or. Between each keyword to build up our search, we need to connect with and. These are the elements of our PICO, and they all need to be present. And so we need poverty and HIV and treatment outcome. They all have to be present for it to be a hit. So the Advanced Search Builder has this helpful function where we can add query, then clicking on the next, add with and clicking on the next, add with and. Add to history, and here we go. We get a total of 51 articles. And if we want to go look at these, we can now. 51 articles, and this is good. This is going to be the basis for our pilot search, and you can see some things are not going to be relevant. That's perfectly normal. We're going to come back to that. We're going to talk about type 1, type 2 errors that are going to help you evaluate your pilot search and begin to optimize it. But for now, you want this kind of a starting point. And you can see here, vulnerability to leishmaniasis, this is not relevant. Macronutrient supplementation, this third one, this looks good. HIV, TB co-infection, that could be good. HIV-related stigma, that looks good. Socioeconomic status in response to antiretroviral therapy, that looks pretty good. As I'll show you later, I'm going to have you go through carefully the first 20. But there's quite a few ones that look on target. Poverty stigma is associated with suboptimal HIV care. So you just want to make sure that your search, just an eyeball test for now, to say, okay, is this even on target? Or are you way out in left field or very far away from what your search needs to be? And I can see as a pilot search, this is a good starting point. So let me come back to our advanced builder. And I want to show you a few other things. For now, I also want you to notice when you actually look at the search, you'll see different filters and options on the side. Don't do anything with that for now. I know it may be tempting to say, oh, I'm going to click English and only have the English results. We want to quantify and detail what each filter and what each step is doing to our search. So avoid that temptation for now. We will potentially come back to that in our inclusion, exclusion part of the search, but many of these things are not highly accurate and not replicable. I'm going to come to that in a second. So I just don't want you to feel lost wondering what all this is. Okay, so let's go back to our search. Now, PubMed has an important feature that some other databases will also have that I want to tell you about, and that is called a MESH term. MESH stands for Medical Area Subject Heading, and what it means is that somebody's already done the heavy lifting and coded a lot of literature for you. This is especially the case in medicine. So for HIV, for example, somebody has gone through and classified all the different permutations of HIV, human immunodeficiency virus. Some use the acronym, some talk about it in different ways. This has been done for COVID recently. You'll see this for diabetes, for example. Diabetes terms will be there. And as you click on it, you can see a tree will open up that gives you all sorts of different subtypes. You can do type 1 diabetes, type 2 diabetes, gestational, different components. So it's worth having a search to see if there are MESH terms related to your topic, because this also can be a way to check that somebody else has captured the keyword variables. So you've probably done a great job, maybe as good as these MESH terms, but do check if it's there. And I want you to be aware of this. So for treatment outcome, there is a MESH term. And what you can simply do is click Add to Search Builder. And here it is. We search PubMed, and that's going to add this term using the MESH to our advanced builder. So let's come back to our advanced builder. And now we can see when we use treatment outcome with the MESH term, instead of just title and abstract as we've done, we get 1 million hits, which is a lot more than the 62,000. It's worth checking. This might get a lot of white noise and things that you don't want. You need to look at it. But what's great about this advanced search builder is if we need to go back a step or check an existing way we've operationalized a keyword and make adjustments, we can do that here very easily. So let's go back, and we want to keep our poverty term the same. Let's just use the same HIV term for the sake of example. And again, add with and. Note that this logic can really easily get thrown off. There's parentheses going on here for each keyword, parentheses here, connecting everything with or, and connecting each keyword. If you ever do go in the query box and edit this yourself, you need to take care that you're maintaining the integrity of the Boolean logic, or it can really throw off your results. It's caused a lot of students frustration. I don't want that to happen to you. This, now using the treatment outcome MESH term, we've gotten 101 results. Let's take a look. And actually, I like this. So we're getting some other things: socioeconomic status in response to antiretroviral therapy, variation in HIV care, treatment outcomes, socioeconomic disparity. This actually looks more on target, just on quick glance, than my previous search, and I got more hits. So I like this. This looks good to me, and I probably will decide to use the MESH term in this case. Okay, that's PubMed. Let me come over to another example of Web of Science. And again, you're going to see that the platform is very, very similar. Some of you might try to go straight into Web of Science, and you might be able to get in that way. But most of you here is going to ask you for an institutional logon, which sometimes will work, sometimes won't. For me personally, in the university, I've got to log in through a university portal, enter my credentials there, and then go through the university portal to get into Web of Science. That's probably the case for many of you. So if you go here and you keep trying to sign in and you bang your head against the wall, you may need to go check with your university librarian and see if you can get their help for accessing these search databases. Almost every university that's good will have access to these databases. They'll have varying subscriptions, so do check. Also, in general, just a side note, research librarians are a very underutilized resource. It's like you having your own personal research assistant available to you. So I would definitely take advantage of it, get to know your research librarian. They're often very, very happy to help you. Okay, so I've just gone through the university portal, and you can see this is a different mode of access for Web of Science. And it's going to take us to the platform, and you're going to see a lot of similarities with what we just looked at in PubMed. So here, if you take a look, we have, it's just taking a second to load up, we have the same kind of setup. You could go pop in your search, but you're budding expert, so we're going straight to advanced. And you see a same kind of platform. You can choose which fields you're going to search, you can add to your queries, and you can build up with an advanced builder. You'll also see, like MESH terms, Web of Science has things like research area, Web of Science categories. These are not as fine-grained as what's available with MESH terms and PubMed, but some search engines have this. You can search for fields like education, and psychology to see if people publishing in education are finding different patterns than people in economics or other areas. We've used this to look at certain grants to see if European Research Council grants had any publications associated with them, and we can do that by looking at the funding text and grant numbers. So this gets quite meta. You can do some really interesting things and ask some fascinating questions, but for now you just need a bread and butter pilot to your search. So don't want to get into those complications, but I do want you to know that they're there. So here, the principle is when you're searching across multiple databases, you want your searches to be as similar to each other as possible. Otherwise, it starts to look a little quirky. Well, you search PubMed this way, and then your syntax for searching Web of Science is completely different. Why? It just raises questions. Try to keep them as harmonized as possible. You won't always be able to, but you want to. So, for example, if I only searched the abstract and title, I want to do the same in Web of Science. So I wouldn't do all fields. I would do their equivalent, which is the topic search, which searches title, abstract, author, keywords. That's quite similar. And if you notice here, if I put in poverty, and I can go ahead and build this up, poverty, add to query, it's completely normal that you're going to get variations in the amount of studies. This time, Poverty Web of Science has deeper coverage of poverty. I get 99,000 articles. Now, here's the point I wanted to make about the importance of quotes. Let's say I take poverty or deprivation or socioeconomic status, add this to the query, add this to the history. Done this way, I get 275,000 results. If I go back now and I put, clear that out, poverty or deprivation or socioeconomic status in quotes, this is only going to search for socioeconomic status specifically, and you can see here it gets fewer. When I put it in quotes, I get 263,221. It makes this is you think 12,000. This is 12,000 articles. That's a substantial difference. That can alter your search. So that's because behind the scenes it's breaking up socioeconomic and status into two terms. So getting that good habit of putting quotes when you have multiple words. Okay, so let me build up my search, and so that's first key term. Let's go ahead and add HIV or AIDS. Go ahead, add to the query, add to the history, and let's do the same thing. Failed to upload. There we go. And let's go ahead. I just missed that. Let's go ahead and do the same for a treatment outcome. And remember quote. So there we go. Add it to the query. Add it to the history. I don't want that. So that's, you got to check that. Sometimes there will be a lingering piece there. I want to build up. It's important that you build up one keyword at a time. So, okay, I've got treatment outcomes, I've got HIV or AIDS, I've got poverty. So let's go ahead and use the functionality to put them together. You can see here we have this option to combine sets. We're going to combine these with and. And here we go. This time, combining these sets, we get 75 articles. Let's go take a look at them. And here we can see some things that are perhaps not so relevant. Treatment outcomes on tuberculosis, comorbidity, treatment outcomes, HIV infected adults. So we're getting some good things here. Some different things, but see some similarities. Articles that you may recognize from the previous search, like this article from China, this poverty stigma article. So this is very common. When you search multiple databases, you are going to get duplicates because these databases overlap. They contain some of the same records, but they also contain records that are not in the others, which is why you're doing this. What you're going to do at a later stage as we go through inclusion and exclusion is remove these duplicates. We're going to export from these databases into your reference manager. Don't worry about that for now. That is explained in next week's video. What I want you to do now is just begin to get comfortable and familiar piloting your search, operationalizing your keyword variants, and making sure you get a good number of findings. And again, I'll come back to this again, but the rule of thumb here is if you're only getting 10 hits, you don't have enough to do a systematic review. If you're getting way over 1,000, you're getting hundreds of thousands, we're not going to see you for a couple of years because you're going to have so many articles to wade through. An ideal ballpark here at this beginning stage is anywhere between 30 and 1,000, kind of with a sweet spot around 500 to 800 that you can manage in a reasonable period of time, and you don't need an army of research assistants to help you. So that is the advanced search in Web of Science. Again, once you've done this in a couple databases, this is going to extend to EBSCOhost, ProQuest, Scopus, ScienceDirect, all the different major platforms that you are likely to come across. So one thing I do want to, again, emphasize as we go forward, the worksheets are going to help you take this step forward piece by piece to build up your keyword variants. I want you to pay especially close attention to your logic so that you don't get results and want to pull your hair out and wonder why it's not making any sense. Make sure you do the advanced builder and you build up step by step. And if you have any questions or you're feeling lost or you have doubts, then it's really important that you reach out and that you take advantage of the multiple avenues of support available to you, then through directly contacting us, participating in some of the trainings that are available to you so that you don't go in circles. It's very common when you're doing this for the first time that you may feel lost or something may not make sense, and that's totally okay. It is the first time you're doing it. Don't be so hard on yourselves, but in time you will feel really good. And if you trust the process, trust the flow of this training, many students have come before you and they've had very good results in a short period of time following the steps. Avoid the temptation, like so many students have, to just race ahead. And I understand that feeling and the desire that is exciting, especially when you're looking at the articles, you want to dig into it, but trust the flow, build your research up step by step, and you too are going to get a fantastic result. All right, in the next session, we are going to talk about how to apply and think about type 1 and type 2 errors for taking your pilot search here and beginning to really optimize it, getting to the final search that we're then going to run through in the rest of the sequence of the course. Look forward to seeing you there.